What if I told you the most dangerous, most intimidating man in professional wrestling history was afraid, not just nervous, not just cautious, but genuinely feared for his safety in the ring with 10 specific individuals? This isn't a storyline. This isn't Hollywood. This is the real, untold confession from the icon himself, Sting. Before we get into his list, quick question for you. Who do you think would make Sting's list of the most legitimately scary wrestlers to share a ring with? Drop your top 3 guesses in the comments right now. I'm genuinely curious to see if you can guess even half of them. For over 3 decades, the Stinger was the face of WCW, a legend in TNA, and had one of the most unbelievable runs in WWE history. The Crow, the Surfer, the silent vigilante, he's faced monsters, giants, and technical masters. But in a recent, incredibly candid interview, Sting peeled back the layers of the character and spoke as Steve Borden. He named the 10 wrestlers who, behind the scenes, made him think, okay, I need to be very, very careful tonight. This video is the breakdown of that list. We're not just naming names. We're diving into the why. We're exploring the real stories, the real moments, and the real danger that exists when the script ends and the physicality begins. This is the side of wrestling you rarely get to see. To understand why this list is so shocking, you have to understand Sting's reputation. This is a man who wrestled Vader at his most brutal. He took a powerbomb from Sid Vicious that literally broke the ring. He stood toe-to-toe with the NWO at the peak of their chaos. Sting is not known as a complainer or someone who gets easily shaken. He's the franchise player. So when he talks about fear, it's not about being scared of a storyline loss or a bad promo. It's about the visceral, instinctual fear of physical harm. The fear that the person across the ring might not have full control, might be unnecessarily stiff, or might just have a mean streak that transcends the business. This is about trust, or the lack of it, in a business built on simulated violence. So let's go through the list, one by one, and unpack exactly what made each of these superstars a unique concern for the icon. Number 1, Bruiser Brody. Bruiser Brody. This is the name that likely sends the coldest shiver down the spine of any wrestler from that era. Brody was an absolute wild card, a legitimate outsider who lived his gimmick. Tour 7, Sting has spoken about the palpable, chaotic energy Brody brought. There was no let's go over the match. With Brody, you got in the ring and you survived. Every chop, every knee, every wild strike was delivered with full unforgiving force. Wrestling Brody wasn't a performance. It was a fight where you agreed on a winner beforehand. Sting's fear here was respect mixed with pure survival instinct. You feared Brody because you knew the line between wrestling and a real back alley brawl was paper thin. Number 2, Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior. Now this one is fascinating because it's not about Warrior being a malicious shooter or a backstage bully. Sting's fear of the Warrior was based on one thing: unpredictable, uncontrolled strength. Warrior was phenomenally powerful, but notoriously loose in the ring. His punches, his clotheslines, his gorilla press, everything was with maximum velocity and minimum precision. Sting has told stories of taking a Warrior clothesline and feeling like he'd been hit by a truck that swerved off course. You never knew if you were going to get the planned move, or if you were going to get launched into the 5th row by accident. It was like being in the ring with a hurricane. You can't reason with a hurricane. Number 3, Sid Vicious. Sid is the epitome of the phrase "looks like $1 million bucks," but is as green as grass for a large part of his career. Everyone knows the stories, the infamous scissors incident, the quad tears. Sting's fear here was Sid's alarming lack of coordination and awareness. Sid was so immensely strong that when he lost control, things broke off in bones or ligaments. Sting didn't fear Sid's intent. He feared his mistakes. Taking a powerbomb from Sid wasn't just a bump. It was a calculated risk. You were putting your body in the hands of someone who, with all due respect, was not a master craftsman. That powerbomb that broke the ring, imagine being the one taking it. That's the fear. Number 4, Vader. Now Vader is different. Sting has immense respect for Vader as a worker, but Big Van Vader was a 400-pound man who could do moonsaults and who was taught in Japan to work incredibly stiff to make it look and feel real. Sting's fear of Vader was a professional fear, the fear of working with an overwhelming force of nature, who believed in intense physical realism. Those Vader chops to the chest weren't sound effects. They were open-hand impacts that left bruises for weeks. Wrestling Vader was a painful, exhausting test of endurance. You feared the physical toll, the sheer brutality of the performance. It was a respectful fear, like a boxer fearing Mike Tyson's punch. You knew it was coming, and you knew it was going to hurt. Number 5, Great Muta. The Great Muta makes this list for a very specific and terrifying reason: the poison mist. Sting has said that the fear with Muta wasn't about Muta being unsafe, he was a brilliant worker. The fear was the psychology Muta created. He would spend the entire match teasing the mist. His fingers would be near his mouth. He'd do that iconic gesture, he'd get you in position, and you had to sell the anticipation and the terror of that green mist hitting your eyes, not knowing exactly when it would come. It was a masterclass in psychological torment. Sting feared the moment because Muta made it feel so devastatingly real. Number 6, Rick Steiner. This might surprise some people, but those in the know understand. Rick Steiner, especially during the peak of the Steiner brothers, was an animal. He was a phenomenal athlete, but he had a reputation for being incredibly stiff and having a short fuse. The stories of Rick deciding to get his stuff in, for real if he was irritated, are legendary. For Sting, stepping into the ring with Rick meant being prepared for a dog collar, match level of intensity in what was supposed to be a standard tag team bout. You feared the switch flipping and the match turning into a shoot fight. Number 7, Lex Luger. This is another interesting one based on ego and carelessness. During Luger's peak, especially his narcissist phase and his later WCW run, his reputation for being sloppy and protecting himself at the expense of his opponent was well known. Sting's fear with Luger was about being dropped on his head from a botched pile driver, or being clotheslined with excessive, reckless force because Luger was more concerned with how he looked. It was the fear of working with someone whose self-absorption could lead to your injury. Number 8, Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner post-Big Papa Pump era. If Rick was an animal, Scott in his later years was a cyborg on a hair trigger. With his incredible chemically enhanced physique, Scott's movements became less fluid and more jarring. His Frankensteiner, once a thing of beauty, became a dangerous maneuver. His promos weren't entirely an act. There was a genuine, unpredictable intensity there. Sting's fear of Scott was similar to Sid's, but with added aggression. You were in the ring with a time bomb of muscle, who might decide to legitimately hurt you to prove a point or just because he was in a bad mood. Number 9, Jeff Jarrett. Now this is a deep cut and it's almost entirely personal and business related. During the dying days of WCW and the early, chaotic days of TNA, Jarrett held immense booking power. Sting's fear here wasn't a physical fear of injury from a Jarrett stroke or a guitar shot. It was a professional and political fear. It was the fear that Jarrett, who controlled his own narrative, would use his in-ring time with Sting to make himself look strong at Sting's expense in a way that hurt Sting's character or legacy. It was the fear of being used as a pawn in someone else's vanity project. And finally, number 10, Vampiro. This one is all about style clash and chaos. Vampiro was a hardcore, deathmatch-inspired wrestler from Mexico, thrown into the main event scene in WCW. Sting, the ultimate sports entertainer, had to try and have a coherent match with someone whose entire philosophy was controlled anarchy. Sting feared the lack of structure, the unprotected chair shots, The flaming tables, the elements that Vampiro brought from a completely different wrestling culture. It was the fear of the unknown, of a match spiraling into a dangerous, unplanned spectacle. This list isn't just backstage gossip. It's a profound insight into the real stakes of professional wrestling. We as fans see the stories, the characters, the finishes. But for the performers, every match is a negotiation of trust. Your body, your health, your career is literally in the hands of your opponent. Sting's list highlights different categories of fear. The fear of legitimate violence, Brody. The fear of reckless power, Sid, Warrior. The fear of intense, painful stiffness, Vader, Steiner. The fear of political manipulation, Jarrett. And the fear of stylistic chaos, Vampiro. It shows that the greatest threats aren't always the obvious monsters, but sometimes the unpredictable allies or the careless stars. This list humanizes these legends in a way we never see. It reminds us that beneath the paint and the pageantry, there's a real person assessing real risk every single night. Think about this from Sting's perspective. Imagine lacing up your boots, putting on the face paint, and hearing your music hit. The crowd is roaring. You're about to walk out and perform for millions, but in the back of your mind, you're running a checklist. Okay, tonight it's Sid. Don't let him pick me up too fast. Protect my neck on the powerbomb. Watch for the wild right hand. That's the mental load these icons carried. For Sting to admit this after a Hall of Fame career, it's not a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate sign of respect for the business and for his own longevity. He listened to that fear. It made him careful, it made him smart. And it's a huge reason why he was able to have a match. At nearly 65 years old, that fear wasn't a paralysis. It was a survival tool. This kind of candid reflection is changing wrestling. The industry is far safer now. The WWE Performance Center drills safety and precision above all else. The era of the reckless wild card or the dangerously stiff worker is largely over. By design, future generations may never have a list like this, and that's a good thing. But Sting's legacy and his confession ensure that the history, the real unvarnished history, of how tough and perilous this business once was will never be forgotten. It adds a new layer of respect for the pioneers who navigated that landscape without a net. So there it is, the 10 wrestlers who even the Sting feared. It's a list that tells a bigger story than any championship win or main event. It's a story of survival, of psychology, and of the raw, human reality behind the spectacle. Sting faced them all, survived them all, and his legacy is untarnished because of it, not in spite of it. His fear was the mark of a professional who understood the game at its most fundamental level. Come out, tell the story, and get out in one piece. If this deep dive into the real stories of wrestling's most intimidating figures surprised you, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And subscribe for more content that goes beyond the highlights and into the true stories of the industry. Finally, I'll ask you one more time. Now that you've heard Sting's list, who's one wrestler from any era that you think would have scared him that didn't make this list? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and let's get a discussion going. Thanks for watching.